Right. Okay. So we will be talking about standardization of JavaScript. So my name is Mikhail Barash. I'm an associate professor, University of Bergen in Norway, also a co-convener of ECMA TC39 TG5, which I will explain in a moment. For now, it's just a fancy abbreviation for the research subcommittee of the JavaScript. And also online is Yulia.
Hi, my name is Yulia Startsev. I am a yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. So my name is Yulia Startsev. I'm a senior software engineer at Mozilla, and I work on the SpiderMonkey compiler as the language design lead for Mozilla's side of TC39. And I'm a co-convener of TG5, as Michael Barash is as well.
Right. So first of all, what is ECMA? So ECMA International is the standardization organization based in Geneva, Switzerland. And it has several committees, several technical committees. And one of those technical committees is the 39th technical committee, which is known by the developers in the world as the JavaScript committee. So the committee has 5 task groups. The first one being the main language, so the committee that develops the language. There is also a task group on internationalization, a task group on security, a task group on source maps, and a task group on research. But before going to that task group on research that we're interested in, I will let Yulia explain how TC39 works.
So, of course, with any standardization organization, there's more complexity here. But to simplify our process, we have what is now a 6-stage process, beginning with a stage 0 proposal, which is just an idea. This isn't something that needs to be formally presented to the committee. But anyone, including all the people in the room right now, could potentially have an idea for how to evolve the JavaScript language and start working on it. Then stage 1 is the presentation to the committee, which brings the proposal under consideration. Stage 2 is the next step in our process, wherein the solution space and the problem that is being solved by the proposal is fixed. Initial spec text is also written. So this spec text is expected to have to-do placeholders in the algorithms and such additional work that still needs to be done. However, the design and general shape is understood. We've recently added a new stage called stage 2.7. 2.7 is where the finishing work on the standard is being done. So this means that the spec text is complete, however, it hasn't been verified. And this is the point at which we'll go and talk to other standards bodies and make sure that we have appropriate interfaces between other standards bodies of technologies that JavaScript uses. The most common one is going to be HTML. However, also something like Unicode might be involved in this part of the process. This is also where all the tests are written. Finally, stage 3 is where implementers such as SpiderMonkey get involved. We go ahead and implement the proposal as written and give feedback to the committee. At any point in these stages, we can actually move backwards. So, for example, if an implementer finds a problem at stage 3 that is blocking the proposal from being successful on a platform such as the web, then we'll move back to stage 2.7 or to stage 2, depending on how severe the flaw that's found is. Finally, stage 4, when everything has gone well, this is the point at which the proposal is introduced into the standard. And I think we can go to the next slide. So TG5 is a home to do a slightly different kind of work. Of course, there's lots of different kind of work that happens at TC39. And one of the areas that we've been wanting to improve on for many years has been how we integrate ourselves with the research community. We've had several different approaches to this over the years, stretching back to the very beginning of the committee, where we would have just informal discussions at universities that we were holding the TC39. TC39, by the way, stands for Technical Committee 39. We're the 39th committee of ECMA. So we had various informal partnerships. Eventually, I started a new research group called it was a research call, which was informal, in an attempt to get a more continuous conversation with academics and industry folks going about the evolution of JavaScript. And that's now been formalized as TG5, which is a formalized forum within the scope of ECMA for the discussion, development, and dissemination of research work that impacts ECMAScript. And this can be quite broad. And Mikhail, I think we'll talk more about this in a moment.
Right. So first of all, at TG5, we have monthly meetings where we do all kinds of different stuff, like discussing research papers about ECMAScript and related technologies, also talking to the delegates of the TC39 main committee about what kind of studies they would like to run on certain proposals. We also organize in-person workshops at universities when there is a plenary meeting of the TC39 committee. And as an output for TG5, so we see it as twofold. First of all, things that are directly related to the JavaScript specification and related technologies, but also we care about the general programming language specification and standardization. So as an example, we could be giving recommendations to the JavaScript committee about certain proposals. We do publish research papers. We develop tools that would help understanding, designing, that would help to understand the text of the specification by the users, but also to specify parts of the language. We also do dissemination work where we give talks and presentations at academic and also industrial conferences. So let me just give you a couple of examples of the kind of work we can be doing there. So it's not only PL aspects of programming language design that we do. When you do a design of such a huge language as JavaScript with millions of users, you really have to take into account other aspects. For example, decision making, governance, also research which would span across different standardization bodies, language drift, but also completely sort of non-PL at first side stuff like natural language properties of the standardees, like the language in which the standard document is written, or intellectual property rights that arise when you do PL standardization, or integrating PL standardization in the computer science education. So here are some examples of ongoing projects. I have selected the ones that are like as wildly different from each other as possible. So it could be user studies like human-computer interaction. It could be more sort of work on the proposals in general, like the meta studies of proposals. But it could also be like a very, I think, known to you all, things like formalization of some properties of some proposals in a proof assistant, or implementing some tool support for improving how the specification is designed and written and perceived by the users. So what we want from you is to participate, to help us improve JavaScript. We do have monthly meetings last Wednesday of each month at 4 p.m. Central European Time. We also have a list of open issues, and please welcome to open an issue or contribute to an open one. And you have this code on the top left, which would lead you to the github.com/tc39/tg5. And if you have some research that you have done around JavaScript, we would be very happy to host your talk at one of the meetings. And now I have a question to Yulia. Why is this important to industry?
So this is the reason why we want to collaborate with academics and folks who are well-versed in various areas of programming language. take back our decisions when we commit to something in TC39. So if we make a decision and it's not well informed, we have to pay for that decision in every version of JavaScript. And there are some very painful decisions we've made in the past that with collaboration from other folks could have been avoided. So this is one of the reasons. And another reason is, of course, to get the creativity and thinking of the people who are working deeply on programming language concepts to help inform how we make design. So, for example, we just had this very interesting talk about modular language design and different paradigms being designed together in a single system. This is very interesting because JavaScript in many ways is a multi-paradigm design language. So it's a combination of goals that we have here. We want to do better at designing a programming language that's used by and impacts really a huge body of the population. And we also want to incorporate ongoing ideas from the research community.
Thank you very much.
We have time for a quick question.
Hello, thank you very much for the great talk. You mentioned earlier that in the process you are always allowed to go back. Yeah, these stages. How often does that actually happen? And do you throw out proposals altogether or rework them until they are acceptable?
Yulia, do you want to answer that?
Sure. So we don't actually, it depends on who you talk to. One of the things about a technical committee like TC39 is you'll hear different opinions, but from an official perspective, we don't have a rejection stage. No idea is ever outright rejected. However, they might stagnate at a given stage. The most common stage to stagnate at is either stage 0 or stage 1. Now, your other question about when do we go back? So the reverting a stage means that we still have faith that the proposal might go somewhere and that it just needs to be redesigned. However, it might be that, we have had cases where we've reverted and like the proposal has stagnated. So one example was related to weak references, and we found that there just weren't users for the feature. So sometimes we revert and it does stagnate, but it doesn't get rejected. The proposal remains so that future language designers can come and build on top of previous work. So we have a history of how we've attempted different designs for different problem spaces in the past. We do not revert very frequently because we are quite strict in when we do an advancement. There is a much more detailed document about the entry criteria for each stage. So this is a simplified view, but in order to get, for example, stage 2.7, this is a very high bar. So if you've gotten to stage 2.7, it's because the proposal has the work and the design that warrants this level of confidence in the proposal. I think the most common revert happens from stage 3 because a problem has happened at the implementation stage. So hopefully that answers your question.
All right, let's thank speakers again. Time for a coffee break and we reconvene at 3:40 p.m.